using comedy or music, spoken word, things of that nature to help educate, to motivate, to help others understand that is not even though you got it for life, it doesn't have to rule your life.
Hi, Chelcie. Welcome to the Via Diabetes interview series. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I wanted to kind of get a bit of background on your diabetes story. You got it when you were 25, is that correct?
This was like in the late 80s, just like anyone else's diagnosis. It came out of nowhere, having symptoms. And my roommate at the time, he set me up with an appointment with a urologist because he and I were musicians at a local church. And I would have to get up in the middle of service a lot of times to go to the restroom. He came back after the test and everything. Well, you have diabetes. And he's kind of like left it like there. And I was like, okay. He put me in a hospital for like a week for just basically education and stuff like that. I envy a lot of the folks that get diagnosed today, which is kind of an odd thing to say for a chronic condition, but still the access that's available now to community as well as the different options for medications or treatments, whatever, is just it's way more than what I had back then. It was quite a learning curve.
So onto the comedy side, when did you first become a comedian and what pushed you into comedy in the first place?
I was always a bit of a cut up in school, and get in trouble I would be the one that I actually would get in trouble for making a joke in class and things of that nature. I mean, it gave me a lot of friends, but the teacher didn't like it so much. I think it was in my mid-30s. And I looked up in the paper and saw that there was like a non-credit course in stand-up comedy. And it kind of started from there. The guy that was our instructor, he just thought that I had the ability to do it. And I didn't really become, say, professional or anything. I was just really just doing it for fun, to challenge myself, to see what I could really do. And eventually I started doing festivals. I didn't really have a desire to do it professionally because of the diabetes. Because when you're on the road, when you have a condition like that, and it doesn't matter whether it's comedy or music or whatever, when you're on the road, you lose a lot of access to things because a lot of performers, they don't have full insurance unless their spouse has it and they share it with them, or you're not making enough money to really afford it. So when you have a chronic illness like diabetes and you're on the road and the only food options for you are eating bar food, French fries and chicken wings and hotel food or convenience stores, when I incorporated the diabetes into it, it basically opened up another avenue. Because I had met a couple of comedians while I was performing and working in some clubs. A couple of these guys did have chronic illnesses. Like one guy, he was partially blind, but he was still on the road performing comedy. I've seen guys would have palsy that perform. And I actually met one other comedian who had the same condition with his eye as I did. He had diabetic retinopathy and lost vision in his eye. I'd met another comedian who was living with cancer, and he started talking about his cancer in his act. And he told me that you'll be surprised at how many people you'll touch when you talk about the condition you have on stage like that, because you never know who you're going to help. You never know who you're going to inspire. I had a lady come up after the show to me, and she just pulled out her pump and showed it to me. And she said that was something she'd never really done before. She'd never really openly talked about her diabetes. That's one of the things that I try to talk about either at work or when I'm talking about diabetes, stigma in the workplace, things of that nature, that folks should really be able to feel comfortable talking about that, because you don't want to limit yourself in the amount of help that you're going to have available to you.
Maybe you could give me a couple of examples of how you use diabetes in your sketches.
When I talk about diabetes in my comedy, I don't necessarily joke about, say, complications unless they're mine. I would make jokes about, my doctor's visits, my eye doctor visits. I mean, you go into the eye doctor and they want to dilate both eyes. It's like, I don't know if you remember or not. I can't see out of this one, so I don't know exactly how that's going to help, doc. And then they dilate this one, and then once the appointment is over, they just say, well, have a good day. And it's like, I'm sitting there in the chair and it's like, I can't see. So I don't know if you want to just help me out of here or something. So I'm going to be crawling down the hallway just trying to find my way to the front door, but thanks a lot for thinking of me. Those types of things, because those are real experiences. The nurse just comes in and hands me the receipt, like, have a good day. It's like, who are you? I don't know who said that. I don't know what's going on here.
How do you think comedy has helped you accept your condition, would you say?
I think it's helped me mentally. When you step out of your condition or your reality, when you try to kind of mold it into something else. And I've seen other people do this with other conditions, using comedy or music, spoken word, things of that nature to help educate, to motivate, to help others understand that it's not even though you got it for life, it doesn't have to rule your life. One thing in general about diabetes, the majority of the treatment is on us as the patient. The physicians can give us all kind of instructions and any type of medications, whatever, but it still comes down to us actually taking the advice or saying, well, I don't care for this. As oftentimes when people will go to the doctors, get prescribed a medication, they don't like it, but they won't say anything. They'll have the side effects or whatever, and they don't see it working, and they won't say anything. They'll just go along because they think they're going to upset the doctor. Well, that's his job to hear that. And it's your job to fire him if he's not giving you the proper treatment that you think you deserve. These are things that I hope that I can talk about more to help inspire people, and they're not just diabetes, patients in general, to know that they are in charge of their condition more than they think. You have that ability, and I think patients need to be reminded of that.
Are you able to share any of your kind of best lines from your shows? Like something that makes people laugh a lot.
I did this joke when I was at I think it was an ATDD. We had gone out to a little bar and someone got the idea to let me go on stage, and I was like, oh boy, now what? I go on stage and I just started talking about having wild or Kama Sutra type sex as a diabetic. You know, you're not really having, it's different when you have a lot of these devices connected to you. And so, and I think the line that got him was, you don't know what it's like to, just wake up in the middle of the night and find out you got your insulin pump stuck in a ceiling fan. Is this one of the, and that was, apparently that was the one that kind of got him. I think even though it's outrageous as it is, it's based in truth, because we have different challenges with these devices when it comes to just living a normal life. We, people that don't have the condition don't know about getting pump tubing caught on a doorknob or getting tangled up in the middle of the night.
Have you ever had a high or a low when you were on stage? And if so, how did you deal with that?
I think I had a low once, and I learned my lesson from that. Fortunately, the set that I was doing wasn't that long, so I could get through it and then just get off stage and go treat it. But I learned the lesson from that one time, and then I was like, okay, so anytime I go out there, I have an idea where I'm at so I can treat it, get it back to where I need to be so I won't crash on stage. Because in a situation like that, you know how it is when you hit a low, you can't think straight. Yeah. And so you're trying to remember, joke, or just lose idea of where you are, and you start getting all the anxiety. And yeah, that's not a place to do that on stage, because it wouldn't go over well at all. If you're performing in front of a group of other diabetics, they'll get it. I'm pretty sure most of them have been there.
But surely, especially in the beginning, was there no adrenaline with the performance? Did that not raise your blood sugars?
The very first time I went up, I thought I was literally thought I was having a heart attack, because I was just that nervous. I was the last on the roster of 19 people. And so I'm sitting backstage just sweating, waiting for my turn, just counting, okay, 12, and then 13, and 14. It's like, oh my God. And I'm just freaking out. Finally, my turn comes, and I'm just sweaty, flop sweat all over the place. I get out stage, and I get out there, and it stops. Then the anxiety went away. I made it through, and I got a pretty good reaction.
Do you feel like there are enough resources in Florida for people who struggle with mental health related to their diabetes?
I think resources as far as mental health in general, in a way, it comes down to, sadly, and I think it's the same for a lot of places here in the States. It really depends if you work for a company that actually provides those resources. I think that's one of the difficulties at least here in the States, is companies talk a great deal about wanting to support their employees' mental health, but they just kind of have it and leave it there and expect us to go and find it on our own. If you're really serious about providing this help for your employees, you need to talk about it a lot more and not just have it out there like some little bauble as a decoration.
Do you personally feel like there's anything that you'd like to see more from the government in Florida or in the US, or from businesses in the US to help with your diabetes management?
Well, you already saw my expression. When you said government, that was like, yeah. There's a lot I would like to see more of, but I don't want to see it from the government, because I would rather see more patients and advocates and patient advocates and pharmaceutical companies take this ideology of profit off the table and just get back to actually wanting to help patients get better, feel better. I want to see these orgs work more outside of trying to align themselves with corporations, but align themselves more with patients. I think, and I know all of that takes funding, but there's a lot of groups activism that needs to be done. And let's use the word activism because in the past few years, being an advocate and an activist is actually that difference between the two is actually blurred now.
Yeah.
And as far as here in the States, it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, all hope isn't lost, but it's become a lot more difficult. I appreciate the orgs that go to Capitol Hill and speak on our behalf, but I'm not going to hold my breath because the people that they're talking to on Capitol, I know who they are, and all their good intentions are fine. But till I see action, then I'm going to start. I'll give it some more consideration once I see some action.
I'd like to ask you what your number one piece of advice would be for a newly diagnosed type 1 diabetic.
One, don't blame yourself. You did not give this to yourself. Do not accept blame from others, and by all means seek a community. There's plenty of options for you, whether it be online or being able to use online to find something local to where you can go in and talk to other people who are going through what you're going through and be able to learn more, gain support, and most of all, no longer feel alone. There's a lot to be said about feeling isolated with a condition like this, and the more you're isolated, the more the negative information or thoughts start popping in your head. And so I think being able to surround yourself with like-minded people who are going through what you're going through or have gone what you're going through and made it out the other side, I think it really means a lot. And if you don't have one, build one. That's another strong point I believe in. It's like if you don't have a community, then build one because somebody else is looking for one too. It
was an absolute pleasure to get to meet you. I'm very excited about this episode and I think our viewers are going to love it too. Thank you for coming on the series.
I hope so. I appreciate you having me.